Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Halloween episode of the Eternal Backlog Podcast. How are you guys doing? Hopefully you're doing well. I'm here with Shady Armick, and I caught you a little bit by surprise there, buddy. We'll have to see when he's totally ready to get going here. We got an action-packed lineup for you on episode 14 as we get into Halloween festivities. I don't know what I was looking for here. Maybe a reverse Rachel Dolezal. I'm not 100% sure. But we were looking for something between a juggalo and something else. I'm not 100% sure exactly what's going on with the look. But that's what happens when you're kind of running for time. And both of us have been on a super stressful work week this week. And that is going to be the preceding elements to everything, I think, for this episode. How's it going, Shady? How have you been? Are we ready to get underway here?
There's so many questions I have right now, and preparation is key. And today I'm definitely not prepared. One of my lights is working. The other one, I don't know. It's been a bit weird. So let me see if I can get that. There you go. The right one's working now. Shout out to Elgato and their setup process.
The double setup process, which, wow, for a very brief moment had an exploit, which allowed people to hack into a Wi-Fi network. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Coming up on today's show, we've got our feature Playstack. We're going to be talking a little bit about Silent Hill 2, perhaps not to the depths of what we would have liked, to be honest with you. Just we've been double whammoed. And interesting bunch of news stories, but either way, we're going to get Halloween action underway. By the time that you reach this on Tuesday, you're going to be a few days away from Halloween itself. But the content starts from later this weekend, because we record on a Friday. So there's going to be some stuff in here. Possible POVs of playing some scary games. That kind of stuff. We'll see what transpires over the next few days. I'm going to make a brief adjustment here, because I need to get Shady's audio a little bit clearer through my ears. So we're going to go and...
So, while you do that, I just got a question. So, are you a gay Jamaican clown, or
I have no idea what's going on with the look, to be honest with you.
You've definitely got the bomber clot element is definitely there.
I don't know what's going on with this look. I think the best thing to kind of go for, if you've ever seen, I can't remember the guy's name, but he went to the Juggalo Festival of Insane Clown Posse fans, and this is a very budget version of that, because as you can see, I'm not a makeup artist, and it's very...
Definitely not
very
Jamaican
slap.
either.
No, definitely not.
What's that, a martini glass of cucumbers? There's just so many questions. I mean, I feel unaddressed, to be honest with you.
I discovered a new drink, by the way, this week, right? So, this is gin, right? Trying to think in the algo for the UT. But this is the 3-letter spirit, yeah? I'm sweating, look at me.
I know you're glistening.
I'm glistening.
Just don't, just in the next hour, just don't do this.
Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Oh, there goes the dog.
There goes the dog, yeah.
There goes the dogs for this episode.
They've seen you.
Going on there. Excuse me. Enough. Right, so I've discovered a new spirit, by the way, that, or a compare for it. Have you ever put shin with soda water and cucumber before?
I'm not a gin drinker. I cannot stand it. I think it's disgusting, the taste of it. I don't know why.
Because this is, I mean, if you ever wanted to feel like you're getting drunk without drinking any alcohol at all...
Eat a cucumber.
It works. So I'll be drinking that during this episode. Anyway,
yeah, unfortunately for me, it's my lunchtime here, so definitely not drinking on the job.
Exactly, that is the thing. Now. We've got a huge time gap, and has it extended or got shorter now? Because after this weekend, I know you're a few weeks behind.
We'll get longer. Yeah, so longer. We're normally 8 hours apart, but with the extra hour, we'll be 9 for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we'll follow suit 2 weeks later, and we'll be back to normal, but with a lot worse weather.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, because we first started the early episodes of this podcast, for those that have been with us since the beginning, we were cranking some real interesting hour timings to the point that earlier this year, before summer started, we were looking at, like, I was getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning to be ready for 6, or was it 6 to be ready for 7?
Yeah, it was for about 6 to 6:30 record, something like that. Yeah. And I had to stay up till midnight. And the recording process normally takes about 2 hours with all the faffing around and testing and everything. Yeah. But I'd find you're an early bird, so I think it was all right for you. But I found myself, as I got kind of halfway through that, 1-ish, nearly 2, my brain was just losing it. I couldn't get my thoughts together. Speech was starting to slur, and I was like, yeah, this ain't going to work.
Yeah, the energy was getting lost slightly.
Yeah. But, well, we've definitely got that energy back this week.
We've got the energy, baby. That's right. That is absolutely right. We're ramped up for today's episode.
Gay Clown Posse in the house.
Same Clown Posse. That's right. Violent J is here.
Violent
and J. We're going chicken hunting. So, coming up on today's show, as I mentioned, several interesting news stories, and one I can't wait to get into. It's absolutely delicious. Not necessarily Halloween themed, but my goodness me. We talked a lot about Nintendo since the inception of this podcast, and they've been going after emulators and all of this stuff. You're not going to want to miss this one, because it's just absolutely reeks in terms of what that's about. Let's just cut to the chase here and go to the Playstack very early board here, because I thought I could fit it in. I couldn't fit it in before we started recording tonight. I was like, if I'm going to be able to do any type of Halloween look, I'm going to have to forego playing a little bit of Black Ops 6, and you've got a little bit of a taster in it. That's just come out on the pulse right now. As we record, Black Ops 6 has been released. New Zealand got it first.
Well, I got it first because I switched my console to New Zealand, so eat that.
Was it easy to do? Did it mess up any of your purchases, or was it?
No, I do this every single time a game that I really want to play comes out. Just go into your settings. It's got a location drop down. Flick it to New Zealand because they're the furthest ahead. 12 hours to be precise. And console will restart and everything just works.
Nice.
Messes nothing up.
So you played multiplayer, was it? Or
played multiplayer, yep. I think, and I have to confirm this, I think it connects you to New Zealand servers, though. So I think there's a little bit of a ping situation, but it's Black Ops. I mean, I was prepared to take that hit for the one night I played it.
And how was the general experience of it? We played, obviously, the beta. Has things kind of improved a little bit from there?
So I played about 3 games. I was more impressed with the levels, to be honest, than anything else. I played there was a football soccer stadium level, which was fantastic. You're in the stands and you're in sort of the area where you buy your beer and your snacks. I thought that was really intuitive, the way that kind of whole thing worked.
Was that possibly taken from the campaign of Modern Warfare 3? Do you remember the soccer stadium and that? As you go into the soccer stadium, because what's his name's there?
No, slightly different. Right. Slightly different. I know which one you're talking about. It may have been inspired from it, but slightly different. Definitely a bit smaller, I think it is, than the one in the Modern Warfare campaign. And then was one that was kind of outdoors in like a train yard or something. It was actually the one they kind of demoed when they announced Omni Movement or whatever it's called. That level. That level was pretty cool. I don't know if it was because I was tired, but I was getting absolutely hammered in that one. A lot of hiding places. Campus Paradise. A lot of tall grass between trains, hiding carriages, you name it. A lot of snipers in that one. Overall, though, it was fantastic. It plays like Call of Duty. I haven't got any initial issues. Controls were a little bit more sensitive than usual. I normally whack up the sensitivity to about a 6. Found it was way too sensitive. I was like, all right, knock it back down to a 5.
Yeah.
Enabled my 120 FPS mode. Plays like a dream. Really good. Really enjoyed it.
So, did Nuketown manage to spawn up, or I'm guessing they might not have entered it in the playlist just yet?
Didn't get Nuketown sharp just yet. I'm not too sure if it's in or if it's I just didn't get it in my circulation, but definitely gonna be playing some more of that today.
Nice, exactly. That's exactly what I'm going to do after we finished here today. And just to deviate, because there's a related news story. Well, it's looking pretty impressive in terms of the review scores for the campaign. And this is good news for me, because I wasn't sure how this was going to work. Black Ops is, from what you've been saying, Shady, anyway, is synonymously the more revered, the more favoured of the two of the franchise. But we've had an IGN campaign review score of a 9 out of 10 coming out of the campaign, which is very impressive.
Yeah, depending on how many marbles you put in IGN's pot, really.
Well, I thought they were pretty decent when it came to. On reflection, everyone was making a lot of noise about Starfield, right?
Yeah.
They ended up being on the money.
Yeah.
So.
But there's been more misses than hits, to be honest. There's been a lot more games where they've given low scores and games they've given way too high scores. So I'll reserve judgment until I play it. You know, I don't tend to look at a Black Ops or a Call of Duty campaign as sort of the North Star when it comes to FPS games. It's more kind of the, it's the Mel Gibson, it's the Sylvester Stallone. I just want mindless shooting. I don't need it to be too deep. I know it's going to end in a few hours, and as long as you do that, it checks the box,
How did you feel about Xbox leading up to this? It almost felt like they did more marketing 2 months before the game was due to come out than what they did like in the week leading up to this releasing. I thought they were going to go full pelt, and it didn't feel like it to me.
Well, they had to kind of, excuse me. They kind of had to, there's my phone going off again. It reminds me to put myself in a do not disturb mode here. There we go. They would have had to. This is their golden goose. This is what they paid $69 billion for, right? If they don't market this thing, then what are we doing? Yeah. So I think considering that Game Pass Ultimate subscribers got access to the beta, what was it, almost 2 months ago now? I think that's, for me at least, where the advertising started. Maybe a little bit earlier in the Summer Game Fest show where they kind of announced the whole thing. But recently they did change the pricing model. I think they removed the £1 or $1 30-day trial or whatever it is to really make sure that the people playing Black Ops are paying full price in terms of Game Pass subscription. Analysts are estimating they're going to gain at least 4 million new Game Pass subscribers.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's true or not remains to be seen. This is probably the biggest spotlight on any game and any piece of news in a long time. It's the biggest game arguably every year. Game Pass is a very controversial subscription.
Yeah.
Putting both of them together, well, let's see how this pans out, because this could either really be the future of gaming subscriptions. Yeah. This could be the future of gaming, not even subscriptions, just gaming in general. Or it could break everything and we revert back to the, you buy every game model that PlayStation have stuck to. So all eyes are on Microsoft right now.
So I think the reverse of that was they were saying that for 4 million ads, there's potentially a 6 million hemorrhage on buying full retail copies of the game. I think we talked about this in a number of episodes, but I was like, how do you keep someone, in that subscription system? Mm-hmm. Now, I think they're putting more games. I think what their plan is starting to align and is starting to make a lot more sense to me, since they've started to say, look, more of these games are going to be either downloadable or streamable on cloud basis, even games that you own as part of that library. And I wonder how much of that weighs into this long-term vision of Xbox, that they are now gravitating away from. I think they're trying to be similar to Nintendo and trying to find their own space in this. And I think it's a bit of a hard sell perhaps for yourself, but for me, in the way that I've adapted and changed the way that I play games now, I can see that as being a value add within itself for me, in terms of the way that I can play games. And no matter which way, even I can go on my Mac, load up a screen in Chrome and play the game. What's your feelings around that? Because what do they need to do? I'm assuming they will need to do something in relation to either DLC or roping something in with updates to keep people that are just, because there are some people that just play Call of Duty and nothing else, even if that library's there.
Yeah, I think the good thing about it is Call of Duty is a title that no one is buying for the campaign, right? Everyone's buying it either for Warzone or the online multiplayer. And like you said, we said this a few months ago, the good thing about Call of Duty is you're going to have that initial influx of people coming back to Game Pass or Game Pass for the first time to try the latest Black Ops 6 because it's the most, affordable option. But at the same time, because Game Pass has the online service, Xbox Network built into it, even if you're not playing any other games, just having access to the online functionality to keep playing multiplayer, I think that's enough. Because if you think about it, all you need is 3 months, I think, 3 months per person, and you've accumulated the cost of the game back, right? And Call of Duty doesn't tend to tail off that fast. There are people that will play it until the next Call of Duty.
Yeah.
So I think in that regard, they're good. I think in order to help bolster that, I think the cloud's an interesting one. I don't think it's a major tentpole to the service yet, but I think the handheld would have a lot to do with that, especially when that comes out. Being able to download, stream, and play, wherever you are in the world. I think that will eventually make a bit more sense, like you said.
Yeah.
But I think, at least for me, they got to stop putting games on PlayStation. If Game Pass is the only way to play these games, then for God's sake, keep it on Game Pass, right? Okay, if Xbox is taking a secondary seat and Game Pass is becoming your platform on both PC and console, then do it. But, when you do things like announcing Indiana Jones is going to be arriving, 3-4 months after the thing, not only is that bad marketing, but there are people who won't even touch the Game Pass version, even though it's the cheaper one, because their main platform may be PlayStation.
Yeah.
So you're hurting yourselves, and it doesn't take a genius or an analyst to work that one out. So, again, stop putting games on PlayStation, and if you are going to put games on PlayStation, at least have a 12-month buffer, right?
Oh, yeah,
at least
100%.
let people,
yeah.
Right, because and I think Phil Spencer, he's gone out on record several times and explained the fact that where they want to get to is have one very major triple or quadruple A heavy hitter every quarter on Game Pass. Now, they've had heavy hitters here and there, but they've never managed to have that cadence and maintain that cadence for the entire year. There's always been some palaver. There's been the Redfall situation. There's the Halo Infinite situation. Now we've got the Indiana Jones situation. There's always a damn situation that just makes people say, you know what, I'm either done with Xbox or I'm just going to go with PlayStation, because you know why? People don't like those kinds of surprises.
No, exactly, yeah.
So decide what you want to do and stick to it.
Yeah. Hopefully they get there. I mean, all they really need to do is just clearly communicate what exactly it is that they're trying to do. Because I don't think we've seen that yet. They've not been... I think they've obviously been testing things last year. They're seeing how that runs out. For me, live service games, it kind of makes a bit more sense to just add to the bolster in the player base. But even so, if you're going to go and do that, why not just see if you can make crossplay work? And then all of a sudden, you've just got more longevity. Interestingly, when we talk about the Playstack, and going back to the Playstack, which makes a perfect seg, so one of the games that I played this week, and I actually managed to get a game, but this is still going to be one of the stupidest things. So we obviously gave our reaction to the Xbox Partner Preview, which was a hell of a lot better than we thought it was. I think we went into that thinking there wasn't going to be much there. It was going to be a little bit disappointing. And it ended up being the strongest Partner Preview of the year. But one of them was a live service shooter, and we've obviously got one. We've got two from Xbox, essentially, or at least Xbox are promoting and fronting. One of them being Fragpunt, which is interesting. It's kind of like a variation and play on Valorant, but a little bit more accessible. And then the new one, Blindfire, which I managed to get a game this evening. And in our notes for pretty much best part of the week is... if I could play this game, I'll cover it. And about an hour and a half leading up to us recording, I managed to actually get a match on this game. They're doing an early access feature on Xbox right now. You get to play an hour of it. This is what I don't understand. It's clearly a free-to-play model-based type game, but they're clearly trying to cover their development costs by charging £7.99 to buy the game when it fully releases, or to play it in early access. I've had an opportunity to play Blindfire. I got a couple of one-on-one matches because those are the only ones that will populate. And if it was a struggle at that, even to get a 1 versus 1 match. In a nutshell, it's playing FPS in the dark and literally using, I mean, this is, if you ever wanted a game that was to give you an excuse to buy a decent headset, there's another segue for you. This would be it, because you can't really see much at all. You get a couple of glow-in-the-dark paint references, but for most of it, until someone shoots off a round and the fire that emits from the gun creates light, you can't see where your opponent is. And you get a thing called an echo, which might give you a little bit of a scan, but that's about it. I've got to say it right off the bat, I don't know what they're doing with this. Xbox, went to the helms of featuring this in their partner preview. They really need to put a little square on the home screen or the dashboard to get people interested to download this, because I would say about 65-75% of the people that even tried to get a game on this have downloaded it, rated, reviewed it, have shit-canned it based on literally not being able to get a match. And I've played a 1v1 match, and my initial thoughts were, this is awful. My notes were, this was awful. I have a slightly different skew on it now, because I wrote that down before we had a chance to sort of record this evening. Is it polished? No. Has it got promise to be something different? Yes. But I just don't think they're quite there yet. And I think that unless they get the players behind this, they're never going to get there. Which I don't quite understand why they can't do some featuring to get the players, to get the data, to get what they need. Because as a concept, it's pretty interesting. It's probably one of the most unique ideas from an FPS title game to ever come out, at least in the last decade for me, in terms of an online shooter. But I don't think that they've not quite figured out, like, how do we get that sweet spot? How do we get people addicted to want to play more? And it's very hard for them to do that when people are waiting 15, 20 minutes for a match, if they get a match, and then no one turns up. So, on the surface, the game lacks polish, needs higher frame rates, needs, I don't know, like the bullet physics and the impact, they feel okay, but it needs a bit more love. But it feels a bit better than, say, something like Splitgate, which I really enjoyed. But it just, this again goes back to this big question of Xbox supporting developers, and are they doing enough for these developers? My argumentation would be no, because we wouldn't have had this kick-off with a few of these games that released, and there's obviously been some backlash around that. They're trying to improve that, but they've shown again just a little absence of knowing how they can support these types of games. If they want them to succeed, why not help them out a little bit? Why not use a little tile on the dashboard to get people to download the thing?
Yeah, I think it doesn't help as well that the game in its current state is chargeable as well. Remove the price.
No.
If this is the state that the game really is in, then remove the price, maybe build an audience first, and then start introducing the microtransactions, because that seems to be a way more successful model. But as for adding, an ad on the homepage, this is where it gets tricky, because no one wants ads on the homepage. And I guarantee that the 1 or 2 spots that they do have on the homepage, you're paying millions of dollars for to get that premium real estate,
Yeah, true.
Right now, we've got Black Ops 6 kind of occupying that pad, and I think, at least over here in the US, there's like a McDonald's one or a Wendy's one or something.
Oh, is that really? We don't get anything like that here.
Oh, no, don't worry, it'll come. But yeah, I mean, that seems to be where it's at, PlayStation's done something recently where they introduced like a welcome hub, and I think there's now ads showing up in that. Nintendo, I don't know. I don't see Nintendo doing it. But, who knows? Maybe they'll do ads for their own products or games or something like that.
No, I think they're pretty much, they keep it a little bit free at the moment. Yeah. So reverting back to the Playstack then, obviously a bit of Back Ops, getting a chance to do that. What else have you been sinking your teeth into? I'm a little sparse this week. There has been another game that I want to talk about, but
yeah. Well, for me, it's been like you said, it's been a very busy week for me, at least in my work life. But every ounce of playtime I have had has been, spent on Shattered Space.
Oh no.
The worst expansion I've ever played from a Bethesda game.
Yeah.
It's boring. It's been a chore, and I've had to absolutely force myself to keep playing this game because I paid money for it. What were they thinking? I touched on this I touched on this in our last episode. But the more I play it, the more I'm sat here thinking, the game's performance is ridiculous. It runs so poorly. I'm literally talking like 15 to 18 FPS at times. And if you're in that bloody RAV8 buggy and you're trying to traverse, you hit this little pixel pebble that's on the ground that you can't even see. And the whole thing starts toppling over and you get stuck on invisible objects. And God help you, if you hit a human being or an enemy in human form, you'd think that a buggy that big would just mow them. No,
does it ragdoll? Does it? Does the vehicle ragdoll if you hit a human?
The vehicle, it's like hitting a lamppost. So the human will fall, but not to the magnitude you think when getting hit by a bloody 8-wheel buggy.
Yeah.
No, the buggy hits it, and the buggy slows down and tumbles and topples over, and I've had to get out and flip it, and I'm getting attacked now, and it's just and then I accidentally killed someone. Now Sarah Morgan's pissed off at me again, and she's not talking to me for a few days. Oh, I'm sick of this game already. I'm sick of it.
She's holding back that purple bacon.
That's one way of putting it. Honestly, I'm down to one last achievement, and that's literally just doing all the missions and side missions. So I've never seen a more cohesive collection of fetch quests put together in all my life. I've gone to a botany manor, go out there and get 3 samples. Cool. Come back with the 3 samples. Oh, we've got these little computers mining the atmosphere in 5 locations. Okay, 5 more fetch quests. Come back. All right, now with that data, let's go out there into these 3 locations and do something with this thing that I don't care anymore. I just want this game to be over.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm so done. And I want to uninstall this 100 gigabyte rent-free, lodger that's just, not even a lodger. What's it called again? Squatter.
Squatter, that's it. Drive. Squatter's rights on your hard drive, yeah.
Oh, literally. I'm so done. And then, and this is just a total segue and side note.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about this off air. Should we do a reaction to the Fallout Day stream? And I'm like,
I forgot about that.
Well, listen to this. I said, there's probably going to be a bunch of Fallout 76 announcements. The best they could do is a Fallout 3 or Oblivion remaster.
Yeah.
Well, I said, you know what? I'm eating dinner. Screw it. I'll pop it on and see if there's anything worth watching.
Yeah.
The presentation quality in itself was good. They did a lot of Easter eggs when presented to the camera. That was nice. But I was 100% right. It's literally just Fallout 76 announcements.
Is that it?
That's it. God. I've never seen skins and history notes about Fallout being stretched over, what was it, half hour, 45 minutes stream?
Really?
I was like, for God's sake, why did you... Okay, it's the 30th anniversary or whatever it is. I get it. But... the best thing they could have done was say, but we're going back to the roots and we've rebuilt Fallout from the ground up using Unreal 5 or something, that would have been great. Oh, God, I'm so sick of Bethesda at the moment, and I think 2 years ago they were my favorite studio.
Yeah, they've really gone... I mean, if you look at it from a real, bird's eye view, they've gone downhill. There's no question it at this point. Like, even the Fallout 4, if you were to go back, because I reinstalled Fallout 4 to see how good are these graphical updates of Fallout 4. Yeah, they were better, but it weren't like... It wasn't enough to start blowing you away in any type of degree to get you to want to go and play that all over again. Definitely
and it gets better than that. It's unfinished because and I think Digital Foundry did a video on this. They looked at the PC version of the quote-unquote next-gen Fallout patch, and it's not optimized for a bunch of things like ultra-wide monitors, so the menus are all stretched out by a 21:9.
Yeah.
And all this weird stuff. It's the bare minimum. I think there was a button in the creation engine that just says up res, and they just clicked it and exported it. I literally think that's the extent of the patch. Honestly, it's a joke. It's a bloody joke. There's no fan service anymore. Do I want to go back and play Oblivion? Not if it's in creation engine, no matter how many improvements it's got. And there will be notable improvements from the 360.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard. It's
I
hard.
never
to get into a
finished
Bethesda
Oblivion,
game.
to be fair.
I never touched it. Haven't even played Skyrim, but everyone totes it as being one of the best games they've ever made. So I think I owe it to myself to go and play that.
Yes, but how much of that again is nostalgia versus what we expect from today? I think there is a large amount of that plays into it, right?
This is it, and I think at the time Skyrim was probably the most ambitious game technologically, and from Bethesda's perspective, what they've produced in the past. So I get it. There's probably a lot of nostalgia there. I don't know. I Bethesda need a real shift. I'm really worried about Elder Scrolls 6.
Well, I mean, have they confirmed if they've switched engine for this, or are they keeping it very shrouded?
They've not said anything, and every time someone's brought the issue up to them, it's always been a case of, well, Creation Engine does everything we need it to do.
No, it doesn't.
We've made improvements. It doesn't bring games to the modern level of quality that we as gamers expect.
No, 100%.
It doesn't.
No.
And I'm tired of clicking on an NPC to talk to them, only for them to be facing the complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
No, definitely. It's showing its age. Doesn't matter how much lipstick you stick on a pig at this point. Pig. But we've gone too far.
Or a Jamaican clown, whichever one you want to.
Which way, But anyway, I guess I'll talk. So if you've, that's all you've got left from your side of things. I'll talk briefly about the rest of my Playstack. I completed Tell Me Why chapters 1 to 3. I managed to get through it without blowing my brains out. I have to say, very slow, very sloggy, very predictable in terms of how that one finished up, to be honest with you. Got to be honest, a lot of people were super impressed with this game. I say a lot of people super impressed with this game. We're talking about a different jaunt of people, which are the quote-unquote game review industry. I've got to be honest with you, it felt boring, it felt tiresome, the narrative was really weak, it played too much on the trope of the time when this came out. I was done with it the moment that it finished. I was glad I finished it, but it was a slog. And the only saving grace from it was when you realised that the person's mother had built a thing up in the shed, which was a whole heap of puzzles, like this secret kind of like treehousey room with all these puzzles and things like that. I liked that attention to detail to how that finished. But to be honest with you, I mean, if the Life is Strange games that I haven't played aren't better than this, I'm going to be disappointed. Because, after I played, was it As Dusk Falls? After I played that, it kind of made... But then at the same time, I remember playing the first Life is Strange and really enjoying it. But I just think they lent too heavily on the narrative. They spent too much time satisfying the Alphabet Brigade. And as a result, I think they kind of lost some stuff with that. I've got to talk about Tchia. Tchia, if you are under the cosh with work, super stressed, want something to really escape with, that has a very loose kind of narrative of a game in terms of, your dad gets kidnapped, you got to try and release him from this guy that basically takes over the archipelago world. This game will be good for you. No,
I just love that selling point. If you want something a bit more closer to home, like when your dad gets kidnapped, I'm just like, oh, that's relatable.
It's weird because this game does like super beautiful, relaxation, cozy game.
Yeah.
And then at times it does some really messed up stuff. Really messed up stuff. It gets a bit gruesome, like randomly on it. But it's set in New Caledonia in the archipelago, and the whole idea of being around it was really a swan song to these islands in the archipelago, even to the point that I messaged you during the week. You know what? I think I found a place where I want to retire. get off the grid, go and chill out at this place. But they've just done a beautiful version. So you're going around like on this raft, exploring all of these islands, places, collectibles. In terms of collectibles, it really goes back to GTA 3 vibes. You know, things that you would collect to enhance and upgrade your character type thing. And there's that story and narrative that's weaved in and out, but you're not under any pressure to go after that if you don't want to. You can approach the game if you need to upgrade your stats before you take on a next mission, you can. But I think just the setting is super beautiful. A little bit more interesting to me than the earlier Just Cause games, because if you were to paradox them together or side-by-side comparison them, one of the biggest criticisms of, say, something like Just Cause is, oh, great, huge island, massive thing, nothing to do in it. This game has some things to do in it, but it is one part exploration, one part taking on these enemies that do exist in the game, but they are so easy to take out. I'd say this is just a relaxing game. I've really enjoyed it given the situation of pressure that I've been in with my job. But if you just want pure escapism without the fret, which Silent Hill 2 has, which we'll go on to talk about later, this game is great. And just being able to sail on a raft and the intricate details of this game, like you've got to put the sail up, you've got to put the mast up, then you've got to get the right power level. Just little attentions to detail in this game, I think what makes it beautiful. And the graphics are really good as well. And you can imagine the setting being in the archipelago. There's just little things, like even when you pick up a camera in this game, there's about 16 different film types that you can use to get different photos. But then you'd have to get the focus right, the shot right, just little things that are in it. Now, here's something that was very interesting. So, I don't want to be grumps or anything like that, but this game has thrown in a real controversial moment. In around about the 5-6 hour mark, we have seen potentially a lesbian kiss between two 9-year-old girls in this game.
How'd you find Silent Hill?
Hey?
How'd you find Silent Hill?
So I was really enjoying this game, and then this all of a sudden happens, and all of a sudden we've got, oh my goodness me, we've gone and DEI'd it. And then I found a consumable shack. So every port, certain places you can buy cosmetics. Like I really enjoy like gacha style games where you can get cosmetics for your characters and stuff like that. And when Infinity Nikki comes out, I'll be all over it. One of the places you can unlock a bunch of flags. I'm like, fucking, please, just give me a rest. Give me a break. And it's like, I get everyone wants to feel like they're thought about. And, you know, it's just like, can I just have a break from it, please? That's what happened. But more concerning from the point of, you know, it's a video game that would mostly be played, probably, I would think, even though there's some weird, odd, dark elements in it. But you would think, on the box art, that a lot of younger children would play this game based on the box art, and yet they've thrown in. I don't know how I feel about it. It's like there's like some coercement slightly with this. Why? What did it really need to be in there?
You were really selling it to me at one point, and now I'm just like, oh, do I want to go through?
Well, it's like literally 15 seconds in the game and it disappears. But it's like some staff member behind the game wanted that in there or something. I don't know. Like to represent their childhood or something. It's like... I think just the environment that we're in today... the pendulum's swinging back, clearly. And people just want video games to be video games. And they don't want to be, you know... It's like, just let us play video games. And you're in agreement with that. You know my own life situation. And I'm in agreement with that as well. It's very, very weird. But anyway, I'll talk about the one last game then before we get on with Silent Hill 2. Off the Grid. So this is a PlayStation 5 exclusive online service game.
You're really into these lately, aren't you?
I've got to try out a new game that I can get before it officially rolls out. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was Cole Eastwood decided to play this. Even though he goes full on for Xbox, he'll still go and open up the PS5 and, try some games out and stuff, which is fine because we do the same thing. But Off the Grid is interesting. I don't know if you've seen any of the Purge movies.
I've seen the first 3, I think. I think there's 5 altogether, but yeah.
Yeah. So what they've essentially done with this is basically take the plot line from Purge, the first Purge, and turned it into a video game. So they've created this island where people can essentially throw themselves into... Because they're trying to put a plot line around a Battle Royale game. So there's this whole, you can, basically sacrifice yourself, but you get brought back to life, because they had to think about that as a game mechanic. But you get brought back to life, but you are essentially people's viewing material for a kind of mocking Hunger Games style, but more cybernetic thing. So so your limbs get removed in this game, and you get basically cybernetic stuff. So you can upgrade your arms and upgrade your legs, and then you've got to go after specific loot inside that Battle Royale arena. Interestingly enough, for me, it played a lot more interesting than PUBG, and a lot more interesting than Warzone. Whether it's going to be successful, they'd have to put a lot of money behind it, but I like the fact that this was a third-person online service shooter than traditional first person, and I enjoyed what I actually played of it. I wasn't addicted to it. I just wanted to get a taster. I could see how people could foster this game and could actually turn into something, and I like the slightly dystopian vibes to it. But if you wanted a plot line as to what this game's all about, just watch the first Purge, because it's the same type of thing. It's like blood sports, and then people are like reacting to watching it on TV at home, like that type of thing. I guess this is the 2024 equivalent of Smash TV back on the days of the Atari ST or something. I don't know.
I think even SNES as well, yeah.
Yeah. So, had a chance to play that as well. Thought I'd get in there and give it a go.
Cool.
Should we talk and should we talk a little bit about Silent Hill 2, because it's an interesting game. But we've just been waysided a little bit, haven't we?
Call it our first impressions.
First impressions. It's not
first impression, because that's literally all I've got, and that's complete transparency. I played about maybe an hour before we started recording today, just because of life. You want to kick off?
Yeah. So I played the original PS1 version of Silent Hill. I never played the second one. And I'm still kind of slightly curious as to why they decided to completely ignore the first one. So I'm like, why was that? Because my memories of going back to that was this game has got a really interesting vibe to it. It's differentiated itself from Resident Evil. The whole mist thing just added something new, that layer of uncertainty to it. Was just very different. It felt like I don't know what could come out at me at any given second. So it was a bit odd for me that I'm guessing it has a stronger narrative. I'm not well versed in the whole Silent Hill series. Got to be honest with that. But I started this game up, and I was like, I like the initial vibe with it. I played it in performance mode versus the graphical fidelity, just out the box. Graphically it was acceptable for me. And then I was like, when am I going to get down to the bottom of this graveyard and actually get into the town? Because this started off slow, but it did it in such a beautiful way that it created the suspense, the soundscape that was there. It built up tension in a way that I'm not usually expected to. And what's really interesting is one of the things that I looked at was like, what are my favourite horror games of all time? And actually, when I was to really look at it holistically, I don't know, I've played a massive great deal of them over the years. And I think there's certain sense of dread. You can't play some of these games in the same way of just sitting down with a long campaign, for me at least, because there is a heightened sense of either heart BPM or stress levels that I want to finish what I'm doing and not necessarily play a game that's going to exert a lot of stress. This game, and we've got some reaction, you can check it out on our shorts, using the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, because why not put them to use in a different way of giving you a point of view perspective of my reaction live to playing Silent Hill 2. And I've got to say, I've been pretty impressed with it. I want to keep playing it, but it's almost like I have to do this in drabs because it's almost so intense in places. And I think the biggest criticism that it had was, oh, it's too slow paced. But I think if it was to throw everything at you at once, it wouldn't be the same. You'd get so used to it. And the payoff wouldn't be there. I think the way that it does it is really smart. And I can kind of understand why people love this game so much. So I've enjoyed it. I've certainly enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than Dead Rising. Because Konami have been thoughtful enough to think about the gamer in terms of, look, you've paid money for this game. This is how we recommend you play this game. But if you do just want to see all of the content, you can ratchet up and ratchet down certain things, which is what I appreciated with the Starfield update. Because believe me, there was no way I was getting through that Shattered Space DLC playing it on hardest difficulty when they stuck all those phantoms in really annoying places, and I'd done New Game Plus with low-level weapons. So little things like that, I really appreciated. And there was just some elements in there. I've not even seen anything related to the best that this game can offer at the point that I'm in. The only thing that I would say that's really annoying about this game is it is pulling from 90s mechanics. So I'm inside the pub. I could see that I've got a vinyl collection. Clearly there's a vinyl disc that I need to be able to repair and put back together. So I find my way over to the record store, find the other half of the vinyl disc that I need to get back together. But then when I get back to the pub to do something with the jukebox regarding this vinyl record, now I need a coin. And I'm like, there is a till at the pub. Surely I could smash that, break the till, and there's a coin inside it. No, I presumably now have to go to a diner where it's the only place in this whole town that has currency. So it's just little things like that. But it's trying to walk you on a linear path, but in a cheap way, you know?
Yeah. I was fortunate enough that I stumbled across that coin really early, just due to thorough exploration.
Oh, did you hit it before you got to the narrative?
I got to it was a pub, wasn't it? So I know one of the roads where the pub is, it's blocked off on the corner, but there was a hole in the window that you could look through for some reason.
Right.
And when I looked through the hole of the window, I could see on the other end there was a door, but I didn't know how to get round to that.
Yeah.
So obviously you go through the alleyway, you pick up the wood, you get introduced to the combat and all that stuff, and I got taken out of the other side of it. That's where I backtracked and went and actually found the coin. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm glad I did that first.
So was the coin in the diner?
The coin is in, it looked like a pub. It's called the Texan, I think it is.
Okay, maybe it's in the pub somewhere and I've just not spotted it.
No, it's in the cash register.
I was interacting with that bloody cash register thinking it will do something.
It does. You have to move, and this almost got me.
Right.
By default, there's sort of like a not blinking, but like a pulsing cursor, like a light on the kind of eject button for the tray to come out. But it doesn't really tell you that you can move that up and turn the key on to turn the power onto the thing, the cash register. You go back down and then it'll eject and you get a coin out of it.
Right, well, there we go. We found the reason.
Yeah. But it's interesting because you go through the Silent Hill 2 options in the main menu, and it really, like, it does a lot in the way of breaking down how you want to experience the game.
Yeah.
Do you want there to be on-screen prompts? If you do, how large would you like that on-screen prompt to be? Small, medium? I'm like, oh, wow, this gives you a real level of granularity. Like, are you good at these games? You can make it easier. If you're pretty well-versed in these games, you can turn them off altogether. So I found it really interesting that it really thought of everything to kind of throw at you in terms of customization and how you want to play this game.
Yeah.
But then little things like that, like I'm at the cash register, doesn't tell me that I can move the cursor up. And to be honest, the pulsing of the eject button to kick the tray out wasn't that apparent either. It was very subtle, very subtle. So I think they could have done something in the way of throwing a little on-screen tutorial saying, move the cursor, like they do with every other game, like press R2 to swing your wood. I sounded wrong, but you get what I mean. I'm only 59 minutes, an hour into this game, and I love it. I love it. I, like you, cannot remember if I've played this or not. The first one, absolutely.
Did Silent Hill 2 come out PS1 or?
Yeah, PS1.
It was PS1,
yeah. What I cannot still figure out for the life of me is why Bloober are the developers of this remake. They don't have a ton of experience in making AAA games. They've got a ton of experience in making their own IPs, their AA, and even to some degree bordering on the line of indie games. They're not bad. They did The Observer, which I thought was a fantastic game. And this game came out before Cyberpunk. So it was the most cyberpunk game you could kind of play before Cyberpunk. And they actually just remastered it for the current gen. So definitely go and play that. It's really well done. And then, of course, The Medium, which came out, 5 years after the Series X came out, because that just was taking forever to develop. That was a very good game as well. They definitely have a niche for horror. That's their thing. And the reason why I'm calling them out on this particular title is just because it's such a sensitive game for people. This is a game that people have wanted remastered or remade for the longest time.
Yeah.
Bloober, and this is only playing it for an hour, haven't done a bad job at recreating that feeling that Silent Hill gave. But there is just some weird things I'm noticing happening, and I can only chalk it up to maybe they'll patch it later on. I have seen patches be released for it. Like the lack of anti-aliasing. The world looks beautiful. You're running through mud, there's little holes with water and stuff like that, but for some reason there's no anti-aliasing, meaning the hair stands out. The pixelated hair is always on edge, like they've always just come out of the shower. Weird stuff. Yeah, weird stuff like that. And then, when you go
something
through
about Mary, yeah.
Literally. And then you go through the tutorial of, picking up the piece of wood and attacking the enemy for the first time. And it's a real low-res texture about that enemy. And then come to find out, they all have that N64 blur to them. I can assume it's intentional because the rest of the game doesn't look like that. But it's just weird stuff like that. I'm like, okay. And I think the character facial models could be a little bit better as well. You meet the girl in the cemetery on your way down, and she's a bit robotic, and you could put a bit more effort into that. Overall, though, and I don't know if this is me coming off of the back of Shattered Space, but I'm loving it because I played this just for a quick hour, just for this segment of the podcast. And I'm already like, oh, this is what video games are supposed to feel like. I don't, unlike you, I don't feel stressed playing Silent Hill 2. I think the only two games so far that have really made me kind of scream is RE7 and Alien Isolation.
Yeah.
Those are two of the most scary games I've ever played in my life, to the point where RE7, I'll still say it to this day, you've got to play that with headphones. Because when you hit that Louisiana shack and everything's just wooden and there's little flies and there's an old pot of stew that's been sitting there for a couple of years growing mold, and there's a hillbilly around the house somewhere.
Yeah.
But you're walking and you hear that wood creaking. Oh my God, that gets me going. So yeah, I'm actually really excited now to play this. I cannot wait. I'm actually thinking about it going back. It's pacing's right so far. The puzzles seem like okay for this point in the game. They're not too hard. They're not too easy. It's just okay. That makes sense. Everything kind of where it should be.
You can dial that up and down as well.
You can. I've left everything on default just to see kind of what it throws at me. But yeah, there's something about I love games where they don't give you a HUD, right? And so games like Dead Space, where your energy levels are actually on the back of your character. There's like a little progress bar or a meter along his spine that you can kind of see. Oh yeah, or games where the color of the gun, like little LEDs, are going from green to red. You kind of know you need to reload or something. Silent Hill does that too, and you pick up the radio, and that radio is alerting you that there's an enemy nearby. But what makes it even more phenomenal is that with the fact that the DualSense 5 has that speaker on the controller, that sound is coming out right in front of you. And it just adds this third layer, fourth layer of dimension to the sound. And I think, we've experienced this before with GTA and the cop sirens, and even most recently Astrobot with all the little sound effects coming out. And that's cool, but it doesn't add a level of immersion. It's just an added tidbit. It's like, oh, that's cool. But with Silent Hill, that radio frequency alerting you of surrounding enemies, it's only available on the pad. So you don't hear it through your TV speakers. So it's become essential. Now I need this. So it makes complete sense why this game didn't come out on Xbox. How would you do that on Xbox? So it'd have to come out through the TV, and it would be a lesser experience. Yeah. So it's things like that I'm just like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And then again, you look at the pad, and it's got the lighting. It's green. Your health is fine. Obviously, when your health is low, it turns red. I don't think you need that in this game because the screen has a red frame when you're about to die anyway.
Yeah, but you can switch that off apparently as well.
Oh, really? Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I remember seeing a post on X of someone saying, look, this is really cool that they've added that onto the DualSense controller, because now I can just switch, minimize my HUD completely and give myself the full immersive experience without any distractions. So there is a way to turn that off. Or at least there is in the PC version, where similarly you can map your RGB controllers, keyboards to give you the same readout. Yeah. So
I think where it makes the most sense, because I've noticed you've got one of those TVs that's got the Philips kind of light strip behind it, where it will light up the entire wall with the content. And while those things work very well, and I'm actually in the process of getting one myself, that's a game where that's a little bit too in your face. When the red frame is up, the whole damn wall is red.
Yeah.
So it kind of pulls you out of the immersion. And I think that's the first time I've actually experienced that when I saw the video you posted on our YouTube account. So I'm really keen to play this. I think the graphics could have been a little bit better.
Yes,
I'd love to see them. I'd love to see them sourced up. Like you, I'm playing it in performance mode. Did watch a Digital Foundry video yesterday, in fact, and even they said that the differences between performance and quality are so negligible that it makes sense to only play this in performance.
Right.
And that seems to be a trend nowadays as well. They even said that about the Horizon Zero Dawn upgrade patch. Yeah, I'm very excited. I got the thirst again. I think it's funny to say, Shattered Space really made me not like video games for 2, almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not joking, man. I'm playing this game, forcing myself, just like...
Well, the fact that because you're a bit different to me, I will quite happily leave a game G-wise, like gamer score-wise, unfinished. And I know you're a bit more completionist with that. So I can imagine the pain, especially that quest where you've got to figure out the riddle and look at the map. And
I've done 2 of them. I've got 2 more to do. Yeah, it's just a series of fetch quests in a location that's really hard to traverse. I'm at the point where I'm fast traveling every 2 seconds because I don't even want to walk 10 minutes. I hate this world. I hate it. I hate the characters. I hate the performance of it. I hate the mission structure. And to be honest, I'm on the border of like hating Starfield at the moment. I cannot believe it's gotten this bad.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed. And, no one, not even Todd Howard, is going to tell me, oh, wait till you see the next-gen version. Well, that shouldn't be a selling point today. If in future you want to update it for next-gen, great, go ahead.
It doesn't matter if it's next-gen or not.
Right, but if
you need writers, you need interesting things. Like
that's true. Yeah,
I thought
other
that
elements to the game.
I really thought they were going to do something
special.
Yeah, that was off the wall. You know, you can go to, like I said before, you can go to a planet and have actual fun. This game is devoid of having fun at all. Like, what if you could go to a planet where you can do fun stuff like you can in something like Fortnite?
Like illegal gambling or illegal racing or...
No, just, Golden Saucer, Rebirth style, something like that.
They literally had the whole... And this is not even figuratively. This is literally the whole universe was their oyster. They could have pulled from any movie, any book, any previous game, any conspiracy theory, anything they wanted to. You're not limited.
No.
But no. We could just hold it. So
yeah.
Silent Hill, absolutely loving it. Are you going to go back to playing it? Because I don't get that stress from this. At least not yet, I haven't. But I'm playing it in daytime at the moment, so maybe tonight when it might kick in a bit more.
Oh, definitely over the Halloween period. I think the campaign can be done in 12 to 16 hours. So, unless I come across something that is, interestingly enough, I'm going to have to come up with some better strategies. Like, there's been some times where I've already had to reload the save file because I've taken up on too much damage that by law of averages, the next health pack or the syringe might not come soon enough. So I've already done that this early. My worry is, yes, you can figure out, especially those what look like fentanyl addicts or whatever they are, like sprawling across the floor looking for the next batch. It's figuring out, like it was in the record store where I pretty much saved something.
2 of them came out. That got me as well.
You got 2 of them, then there's 1 crawling around the floor, so there's 3 in total.
I didn't get the third one.
There's a third one. In my thing, there was 2 on different aisles, and there was 1 that was spraying around on the floor that would try and grab you from the floor.
I wonder if that came in from the outside.
Maybe. I don't know. But I'm just a little bit like, if this is this early on, how much is it going to crank up? Because if I start hitting the, levels of something like Elden Ring,
yeah,
no, it definitely sounds like finished for me.
Sounds like in your case, you might want to just dial down that damage difficulty a little bit, because this definitely has all the makings of a game that I think everyone should play. It's special. It's special. It's a remake we haven't had in 5 generations. PS1. I know we got the little 360 compilation, but it's so bad that it's unplayable.
Yeah.
This is special. It just feels special. It's done right. It's yeah. I'm looking for. Why the hell didn't they do the first one though? That's really puzzling. Because now you're going to release the first one, and then we're going to have to play them in a weird order. Yeah. And then you've got that. There's a new story. I think what was that Sony show like 3-4 years ago? And they did the Silent Hill one. And there's like an entirely new entry to the franchise as well.
Oh, so I played that little bit of DLC. And I don't know why, but I thought that was related to something to do with Silent Hill 2, but it's not. It was set in an apartment block, essentially. And you end up getting like chased around the room. But it's basically, it plays on your thought processes of topping yourself is the best way to put it without upsetting the algorithm.
It kind of PT-ish.
I played through it, and it was pretty intense. What they're going to do with that, I'm not sure. It seemed to me like they didn't know what they were trying to do other than make an experience. Like the narrative behind it didn't make a lot of sense. It'll be interesting, but again, that experience, which was obviously made free, I would say that the Silent Hill 2 remake graphically looked better. That little thing that released did not look graphically pleasing.
So I can't help but thinking those little experiences, and I think they did this with Metal Gear 5 as well. They had that Ground Zero sort of 2-hour demo that came out like a year before the Phantom Pain came out. I think what it is there's a conflict internally, a mechanic or something overall they want to figure out if it's too hard, too easy, are people getting too scared? And I think this is basically a demo where it's kind of collecting all the telemetry data and sending it back to the developers, and they're figuring out, all right, people seem to be kind of blitzing through this bit really quickly. We need to tighten this up, or people don't like going in this area. Maybe there's something visually that's not leading them down this corridor as opposed to that corridor. So I think it's a lot of, it's just investigation work, I think.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see where they go next with the series. I'm not quite... Did they say anything about when they might be looking to do anything with that, or... I'm guessing they didn't.
Well, I mean, from that announcement, if I remember correctly, a few years ago, we've still got 3 titles on the table. We've got the all-new one. There was like a Silent Hill version B or something like that coming out. There was a show, if I'm not mistaken. So there's quite a few things that... I think with the success of Silent Hill 2, this will set off a trend.
Yeah.
It will set off a trend.
Interesting to see how it goes. But all of... I'd say that the review scores were fair. I think it scored about 87 out of 100.
Yeah.
So that's pretty decent to go in, knowing you're going to get a half-decent experience.
Yeah.
We were certainly impressed with what we played anyway.
Yeah. It was a game that was... I'm trying to think off the top of my head, are there any games that we haven't had remastered yet or remade that we're just dying for? Is there anything left in the pot? Silent Hill was a big one. That got covered. System Shock is another big one that's already been remade, and they're doing the second one now. Wolfenstein,
in terms of
Doom,
remasters...
Or even remakes. Something that's, not been touched since the early days. And don't give me...
Depends how early you want to go.
Don't give me Time Crisis or anything like that.
I weren't going to give you Speedball 2, because we've already talked about that in a previous episode.
I think they did remake that, actually.
Well, they've done a few versions, but it's always been on a mobile bloody phone. Apart from, playing around with F-Zero properly and Wave Race, that's always been my little thing. Mm-hmm. They could do... Can you imagine them reimagining Another World? Or Flashback, the Amiga games?
They did Flashback too.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, like a year ago.
But I mean, really, properly reimagining it.
I bought Flashback too. It's on my to-do pile. And the first one.
Because when I played Another World the first time on the Atari ST, you can't even call it a horror game, but there is a horror element to it. It's like it's like a sci-fi type horror thing, but where everything's obviously 2D, side to side. You move off the screen, the scene changes, that type of thing.
Yeah.
But they did something that was so mystique with it that it's always stuck with me throughout all of these years. Like the weird blobs that have huge fangs, like at the time, just felt freaky. I don't know. I would like to see them do something with that, but
yeah.
Nothing that I'm super clamoring.
I was just curious.
Yeah,
I was just curious. If I think about it, I can probably bring up some old DOS games that I'd love to see brought back.
Big Red Racing, there you go. No. Does it need bringing back though? Probably not.
I mean, you got to make it free to play. Make it free to play. You wouldn't. No one's going to pay $70 for that today.
No, exactly.
Anyway, should we get on to the news?
Yeah, let's kick on with the news. I had a little seg about what are our favourite horror games, but to be honest with you,
we covered them.
We can give you a quick rundown of some games worth checking out. Obviously, Dead Space. There's a few I disagree with. You could check out the remaster of Until Dawn if you want to check that out. I will advocate Fatal Frame. I think in the UK it was called something else. I remember playing on the PS2 where you play as a reporter.
Camera, right?
You use the camera. I think it was called something else, something obscure or something.
So it's on my wish list right now. It's called Fatal Frame over here.
That was really good from memory on the PlayStation. So goodness knows what it's like now. I was thinking about it myself, what personally, it's not even... It's got horror elements to it. Deadly Premonition. Oh, just an incredible, incredible title. There's a couple of rubbish ones on Xbox, but they kind of mess you up a little bit. Into the Void, which is a little bit oddball, and then there's the Grey Hill incident that really plays on the VHS tape alien abduction, some random family in the middle of the outback of the United States type vibe. I got stuck on that, annoyingly, but it definitely freaked me out when I was playing it. And then Slender Man, the game, back in the day, we had to collect all the pages.
Yeah.
Just somehow worked. And then if I go really back, Martian Gothic on the PS1, which where you can control, it was like Resident Evil, but set in space. You're on a spaceship. There's been obviously an alien type takeover, but you can switch between controlling 3 different characters, and it had incredible atmosphere, music created. It was like playing Event Horizon, the game. If you're familiar with the horror movie, that's like one of the most popular horror sci-fi movies of all time.
Yeah.
And it never really got revered, but Martian Gothic was definitely one worth checking out on PS1. I know you've played, obviously, the Resident Evil series. And probably a few other the more popular, obvious ones, but has there been anything a little bit off the wall, horror-wise, that...
I'm looking at this. You've got a bit of a list here. One that kind of stands out to me, or actually 2 that stand out to me, more recent, is Condemned. Condemned was I want to say it's probably the second 360 game I owned or played. And I thought it was just done really well. The whole first-person investigation narrative, trying to find this serial killer, and it really made you think about blocking as well as attacking, because, people just button mash when it comes to FPSs. This did a really good job of that, but there was also, weapon damage, and if you block too much, your plank of wood might break. So there was all of that, and I really enjoyed that. They did bring a second one out, just didn't get as great scores as the first one. Another one is going back a little bit now to my PC gaming days, Fear. Fear was fantastic, and they did port them to, I think, the 360, which I think are in back compat today, but they didn't hit. Nothing quite like the first Fear, and even the second one. The third one was a bit, but the first 2 especially was really good. Anytime you add a little 6-year-old girl into the mix in any type of horror, it changes everything, I think that's it. That kind of stands out. We got our Dead Space remake, something that was one longed for. Outlast is a great game. I still have to play the second one, but the first one I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
I think Layers of Fear, I played it, didn't really do much for me. Yeah, it didn't really do much for me. I know they remade it recently, which was weird, but yeah. And Until Dawn is on my to-do list as well, eventually, at some point if I buy. I'll be one of the 400 people that bought that.
Oddball selection from Sony, but it doesn't surprise. Let's talk a little bit then on the news section. We'll start off with this. I'm really impressed by this from Xbox, to be honest with you, and I'm probably going to go and dip in and buy one. And mainly because of one particular feature. So Xbox have kind of done a refresh of their first-party headset. They've kind of said, look, stereo is really just not good enough for 2024. And they've released a new headset. It does retail at £99, so it's a little bit on the higher side of the price point.
That's pretty good, to be honest. For the features you get,
that's
really good.
Compared to paying like $49 for a basic Turtle Beach or something or whatever, but
yeah,
£100, a new Xbox wireless headset, which includes Dolby Atmos. Now, you've got more experience of this than me. Like, how much is the fact that they've added Dolby Atmos, which was a payable feature? Was that a one-off or is it a monthly?
No, it's a one-off. So I bought a pair of Rig 800 LXs 3 years ago, maybe 4. It was at the height of COVID. And mine came with like a little scratchable code, so I could redeem it on the store, because the Dolby app is a chargeable app on the store. So I wonder how they're going to do it. Maybe it will just let you just download it or something, but you have to download the Dolby app on your Xbox, You go in there and you set it up to enable Dolby through the headphones, and there's like little tests and test videos and all these test content. You can see it. It definitely makes a difference, but we have to remember at the same time it's virtual Dolby Atmos, because Dolby Atmos actually requires physical speakers being placed at different points.
Yeah.
Right, and headphones you can only have 2 speakers, one on the left, one on the right. So it's a codec. It's virtual. It's mimicked. It works. It's great. I mean, it's the best kind of codec we've got today. But yeah, I mean, that's where you want to play your Hellblade 2 is on a Dolby Atmos headset.
Atmos. So when you played that versus the AirPod Maxes, because they played around with this spatial audio, in that, do you know whether it's on par with?
Yeah, so spatial audio is different from virtual audio. Spatial audio is basically audio coming from a specific direction, a fixed direction, right? So if you imagine you're wearing your AirPods and you've got your iPhone in front of you head on, then you'll hear sound from both AirPods. But if you kept your iPhone in front of you but turned your head that way, you would only hear sound from your right AirPod, mimicking the sound coming from that direction.
Right.
That's what spatial audio is. So a lot of people, so basically you can wear headphones and still feel like you're not wearing headphones as if you're watching a TV. Because you do that with a TV, the sound's always going to come from in front of you. If you do that, it will mimic that. Same thing with if you've got your transparency mode on and someone on your right talks to you, you'll hear it on the right. So it mimics real life hearing basically. So it's cool. Atmos is more, putting sounds where they would be if this content was real life.
Yeah, I thought I thought Apple were doing the same thing. Like, I thought they were thinking about, imagine where the bass player is located within the room of which it was recorded. You would get an idea of where that was, as if the sound wrapped around you and you were in the middle of the room.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. You can try it out for yourself. Actually, I mean, if you set your spatial audio on, if you've got a pair of compatible AirPods, you can watch YouTube and do what I just did. It will just mimic. Same thing with if you're listening to music. And I didn't know what was going on at first because for me it enabled by default. So I'm listening to Spotify, and every time I turn my head, the direction of the sound changes. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Yeah. Found out that it's mimicking because my phone was on the table. It's coming from the bottom left of my face. So it was interesting. There's some applications it works well for. But yeah, I mean, Atmos is more just over the top. You've got your helicopters, bullets coming from different directions, that type of stuff as well.
Yeah.
And I think recently with PlayStation's last dashboard update, they did an improvement to their 3D Tempest audio thing as well. So I turned my headphones on there for the first time in a while and recalibrated that, and it was all right. It wasn't super accurate. I find that my Xbox Ones are a bit more accurate. But I would like to see headphone makers actually place more speakers inside the cup. If you've got one main driver that does your mid-range and your bass, then put sort of little tweeters around the exterior of the cup to kind of mimic different directions to give it that actual, pinpoint accuracy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. I think the price actually is the most compelling part, because the headphones that I've got with the same features, if not the battery life is 40 instead of 20, I paid 150, and some of these go into the 200s, 250s, and even 300s. So the fact that Xbox are doing this with the free Atmos codec app for $99 is actually really good. Really good.
Yeah, I am tempted. That might be a Christmas buy.
I think you need to. I mean, you're...
Not that I got enough value out of the bloody Starfield one that failed on me so quickly, but...
Yeah. They've definitely changed supplier, Microsoft.
I don't know where they're picking it up from. It definitely ain't Taiwan. It's probably North Korea at this point.
Temu. Where's Temu?
I don't know. No idea.
Anyway.
But anyway, I'm going to go on to a really weird one for you. I've been trying to figure out what is the perfect game. What's the perfect football game for Shady to get into? So this has actually appeared as being one of the most popular news stories for the week. It's a new Kickstarter campaign, believe it or not, where someone has decided to... Can you see the image? Because I'm going to put it up on the short we're going to put up. Here's a guy wearing a balaclava.
Straight thuggery.
This is FIFA 98 X Silent Hill. Fear, FA 98. It mixes horror and football in the same genre. Now, you can go onto that Kickstarter link and start to play some gameplay if you want, but Fear 98 is a horror arcade soccer simulation style game that combines all the competitive elements of the soccer game genre before it got too simulated, but with horror aspects that made the series like Silent Hill and Manhunt so great. Now you can play against the computer or compete in a sinister arcade online leagues with friends. Whether you can get enough people to make that viable or not is questionable at best. But it's meant to be bringing back the best of the 90s with a little bit of a, maybe Scream vibe.
That's hilarious.
So
I just looked at it.
If that sounds like your bubble, you can go onto Kickstarter and back that game, and you'll be able to see the description on the short.
You want to hear the funny thing, actually? I actually really enjoyed FIFA 98 on the PC. That was probably my peak football. I really liked it.
Yeah, it was pretty accessible, wasn't it?
That was one with the Blur main song too, wasn't it? I think.
Song 2 was the... Well, it was either that or World Cup 98. One or the other.
Yeah.
But iconic. So I don't know where this guy got the idea from, but either way, it's kind of dominated at least enough for the artificial intelligence this week to pick up on it as being an important thing to be looking at. And I don't know if it will get out of Kickstarter. It might do. I don't think it's ever going to come on console. It's going to be a PC.
There's enough there to get sued, to be honest. It looks like they're actually modding FIFA 98, if I'm honest with you. So I don't see this getting very far.
I have to say, but maybe macOS PC might be your bag for that. But I thought I'd include that, given this is a Halloween-themed episode. Now, we're about to give the old, full-on fellatio here to Sean Murray again.
Oh,
holy! Would you believe it that Sean Murray is back for the 16th free content update for No Man's Sky? He keeps knocking him out the park. He doesn't give it. He doesn't care. He's like, I want to set a world record here that Guinness is going to take a long time before this gets beaten. He's released another free DLC called The Cursed. It's a 2-week Halloween-style type event that is released. And, when I saw this news story come up, again, we're going to take another dump on Bethesda here. The fact that Sean Murray is just releasing free content updates that are getting more attention, more people excited than Starfield with these updates. And look, I've got to be honest with you. I've kind of... There were 2 games that I kind of highlighted that when I go on an extended Christmas break that I was going to get myself into. One of them was No Man's Sky, and the other one was Star Trucker, because I still haven't managed to play that game, despite the fact that I really gave it a lot of juice. 16th update. You just got to give the guy some credit. It's incredible. And the fact is, his new game that he is working on that's in development, I'm not sure if that's my bag, but No Man's Sky. It's incredible. Incredible. Bioluminescent pets, new starships, expansion rewards, portal-based activities. I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start with this game, trying to trawl through 16 packs.
I think it kind of all welds together. I think it all melts together in the universe.
In a Borderlands ever-expanding mission checklist.
I need COVID back so I can get through some of this backlog. I mean, it's getting ridiculous now.
We need a COVID-23 as outlined by the Birdsong movie.
Let's go COVID
that could happen.
2025.
We're less than 12 days away from the from the Alecki, so
someone's either getting shot or arrested.
we'll have to see. But there we go. But that is it's on my list to have a little look at over that almost month I've got off for Christmas. So
Nice.
So we'll be looking at that.
Let's go into this Nintendo Playtest because I've been dying to get into this.
So, a Nintendo Playtest, which we
predicted would leak day one.
We predicted would leak.
And leak.
I think our hopefulness was it was going to be some type of online stress test for the new console, which it could well be, but not in the way in which we first envisaged. So there's two links. It's interesting. So there was one guy that kind of released this new material around this game. Basically, if you're looking for new UX, a new menu, new online features, voice chat without having to download an app on your phone, or something that was going to give you anything about what the Switch 2 could be, or something that was, what people actually wanted. It's not happening. The playtest seems to be that Nintendo might be taking a stab at creating their own version of a Minecraft or Roblox beta.
It's an MMO. But all hope isn't lost because this could
Have
be.
Have you seen the gameplay to this thing? Because this thing's looking gash.
What's it called? I haven't actually seen.
They've not given it a name. They've not given it a name at the moment.
All right. So if I type
Nintendo, take a look at the playtest. Take a look at the playtest link that's in the notes.
Oh. Nintendo Gash edition.
They've not given it a name, obviously. I mean, if you're looking at, you're pretty much, I'm bringing up some of the footage right here of what's behind it.
Let's have a look. What's going on?
It is, I mean, it goes from 2D to 3D perspectives. I mean, the best way to describe it is really pushing into the Minecraft universe, but with less blocky textures. It looks like it's almost you're playing around with an engine. So it might not be, but it looks like... Do you know what? I'm going to speculate here. Just seeing this footage right now, I'm going to speculate that Nintendo... So I reckon people are wrong. Some people are speculating that Nintendo are playing around with something that's a Minecraft or a Roblox beta. I actually think that Nintendo are playing around with something to release on Switch 2, where they are going to actively encourage people. This is Nintendo's version of Dreams on the PS4. This is going to be something to actively encourage people to go and try out game development. That's my vibe with this.
Like an ID at Nintendo type thing. This isn't a looker. This is really, it's the bare minimum to make it functional. I think this isn't anything that we're supposed to be impressed with. It's doing a lot to hide what it's testing, but just looking at a few things here, the fact that it's open world and it's this big and as vast, I think they are testing something where multiple inputs or multiple players play it. Yeah. This is definitely some sort of online test, because everything on its own, if you take it at face value, they've done platformers, which is in here. They've done 3D shooters, which is in there. They've done jumping and rolling balls and smashing blocks. That's all been done before. So it's recording data. It's recording something. And I think what's happening is, without people realizing, they're all playing on the same server, possibly. You just don't see each other. So I think there's a lot of that going on, where they're just trying to stress test and see how many people can play and if anyone complained about some things. But yeah.
So do you not think that they're maybe playing around with a piece of open game making software that you can create a game directly?
I mean, I think it could be possible. I mean, it would definitely. I'm trying to think, because yes and no. They could be trying to address maybe making a more tight-knit idea Xbox style program. I don't think they've got an issue with it right now, but I think there's just so much crap on the Switch store that everyone's throwing everything up there. And I think what they want to do is kind of tighten those walls a bit and say, all right, we're happy you're making games, but make something of quality and purpose. Here's some tools to kind of help you get to where you need to be. Yeah. I think this is a back-end test for something bigger, and we're just not seeing it. But you can get a few hints from what it is they're doing.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird one. It was nothing what I expected. It's not even a Miiverse, is it? It's not like it's...
No, it's
so supposedly there's like a social hub part of this as well that exists, but...
Yeah, it's recording. It's a recording piece of software. It's recording everything people are doing. It's recording frame rates on everyone's Switch. It's recording server data. Did it sync up in time with this player that the other person's oblivious to being there? It's doing a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a server test.
Interesting. Well, there we go. We'll keep the subject on Nintendo. Well, this is interesting, considering Nintendo are suing people left, right, and centre for using emulators. Seen this one?
What are they doing now?
So Nintendo in the last month opened up a new museum in Kyoto in Japan, celebrating the many years that Nintendo have been around the business. However, despite this, people going after emulators, despite Nintendo going after everything on the iOS App Store, you know what, YouTubers, all of this stuff, you would think that their museum would run on proprietary hardware. Nope. So they've allowed people to play all of these retro Nintendo games from across the ages, but guess what's helped them do it?
Go on.
Emulators.
How'd they find out?
So they found out in America that people were disconnecting physical controllers from the system, and the Windows sound was playing when they did it. So all of these screens were running something on the front of Microsoft Windows to run this. So their whole library in Kyoto are being emulated against the most sue culture company in the video game industry, taking down people that emulate stuff. They've decided to set their museum up in that way. What an irony.
What can you say about that? There's nothing you can really... It's their IP.
Well, it's their IP, but it's a massive hypocrisy.
I want to know which emulator. That's where my mind's going to.
Well, they're probably using the ones they're suing.
Probably.
They probably didn't do the legwork themselves.
It was interesting that, because I remember a few years back, this company, I think it's Koch Media in the UK, they released this arcade stick in the shape of the Capcom logo. It's a 2-player arcade stick. You put it on your lap, and then it connects directly to an HDMI to your TV. And it ran like 15 games. It was touted to be arcade perfect and all this stuff. And then someone kind of opened it up and stuck it into like a PC with a Raspberry Pi or something. Turns out it was running an emulator, one that Capcom was suing for. It was so funny.
There you go. Nintendo doing their typical Nintendo-ness. So
shystiness.
Yeah, exactly. They should just chill their beans. I get it for current gen. I don't get it for old gen. Unless you're going to be like Xbox and back support your original purchase back from when the architecture could do it, then people could probably be a bit more on Nintendo's side. The fact that they're recharging people every console to download games they've already bought is an absolute insult. So that's where it lies. That's where the consumers are against them in reference to that. So see if they change tack with the Switch 2, which is supposedly going to be back compatible, but I've heard it all before. Just to leave you on a little something. This is about entitleism, by the way. So the games industry has massively changed. There's a lot of people, the way that the traditional media works is very different to, when we perhaps were, doing stuff back in the day. And the games media has been more politically skewed in recent years, I think is agreeable to say, in the fact that you know, just getting people just to put the politics of the world to one side and forget about it and just think about the game seems to be, by and large, a thing from the past. And look, I'm not being funny, but there's people that are very, very high up on the X, network that we see pull up on our feeds. And I'm like, can you just take politics out of the situation? Do you really have to talk about... I'm not following you to hear your political opinions about how you're going to vote for camel toe, okay? Because, you've got to be really proper solid if you're going to back that up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's pretty much what wraps up the podcast for this particular episode. There was a little story about Metro getting a little bit salty around the fact that they didn't get a free copy of Black Ops 6, but we're in 2024. Pay for it. Pay for it yourself. Stop feeling so bloody entitled. But anyway, we shall catch you guys for the next episode. Enjoy Halloween. We're going to bring some Halloween shorts and content to you guys on the outlier side of some of the stuff that we're doing. I'm certainly going to get soaked into some Halloween stuff. I'm sure you will too. Mm-hmm. And we'll be posting some ad hoc stuff and some highlight clips from this particular episode. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.